You're new to Power BI and you're not quite sure what the difference is between a workspace and an app, or you've been working with Power BI for a while and you want to get the most out of your apps. Well, in this video, I'm going to be explaining what a workspace is, what an app is, and how to get the most out of these. Hi, this is Jason from Effective Dashboards, helping maintenance and reliability professionals get the most out of Power BI. So welcome back to another video. Okay, so to start off with, I just want to show you this presentation that I've got here, this slide that's going to explain the difference between a workspace and an app and reports and how they all tie in together. So this is really for a beginner and it takes you right through this at a reasonably high level. So your company will likely have a Power BI tenant, okay, a Power BI Service tenant. So that's the area that all the workspaces, all the apps, all um, the the things that are related to Power BI are stored. Okay. Now within here, you've got these things called workspaces. Okay, so you set up a workspace, and typically there'll be a strategy for setting these up, and each one I've found can be set up for a department or for a particular project or for a particular collection of reports. Okay, now the workspace is where you publish reports to before you publish them to an app. Then we've got Power BI Desktop. So Power BI Desktop is where you actually carry out the development. So that's out with the Power BI service. Okay, so it's not in here. It's typically on your on a laptop or a PC or in a virtual machine. And this is where you create the PBIX files. Okay, so this is where you create these files and they're stored in Power BI Desktop, or they're created in Power BI Desktop. Then you publish these up to a workspace. Okay, so you need to have at least one workspace in order to publish the files to store them somewhere. Now you do have My Workspace, which is your personal workspace, but in terms of sharing them with other people, you need to have a workspace here. And when you publish it, you get two things. You get a report and you get the semantic model. Now the report has got all the information related to the actual visuals, the interactions between the visuals, and all of that good stuff. And then the semantic model has got all of the data, essentially the data model. So you get two objects, and we'll show you that in a second. Then you've got this thing called an app. Okay, now each workspace, generally speaking, has one app. Okay, there's some additional functionality that's coming through, but if we just keep it a one-to-one relationship just now, that's going to make it simpler for this particular video. And within this app, this is the mechanism that's used for sharing the reports with other people. Okay, you don't share the reports that are in the workspace with other people. Well, when I say other people, the end consumers of the reports, so that's typically the business users. You publish each of the reports to an app. Now within an app you can set up a thing called an audience, and we'll cover that later on, and that's basically a set of a subset of reports within the app, and then you publish these reports to the audience. Okay, and this audience has got a list of people who can actually go and see it. Okay, it's got permissions. Okay, so that's a pretty high level overview of the different objects, the architecture that we're going to cover today. Okay, so when you log into Power BI, you'll be typically presented with a page that looks like this. Okay, now it might look a little bit different if you've got the simplified version on, but essentially it's the home page that you use to access Power BI. Now, in my opinion, it's a little bit of an in-between page between something that a business user would want to use, but it's a bit too complicated with a lot of different options here that they're not interested in, but it doesn't quite cover everything that a developer would want to use because they would use Power BI Desktop. But I'll cover that in another video, so check out the comments below and I will explain how you can perhaps have a better way of accessing your reports by setting up your own Power BI reporting portal. But that's a different story. For today, I just want to cover the difference between a workspace and an app and how to set up an app with some hints and tips. So if we go along to here, we can see that we've got two buttons in particular. We've got apps, and here are all of the apps that you've got access to, and then further down we've got these workspaces. Okay, so these are the workspaces that have been set up, and these are where we can actually publish reports to. Now if I just click on one of these, let's say operations, we can see that we've got some objects in here. Okay, now we've got two things in here, well three really. We've got the report and the semantic model. So like I mentioned before, whenever you publish a report from Power BI Desktop, then you get two things. You get the actual report itself and you get this thing here called a semantic model. Okay, so that's where all the data is stored. Now there's also this thing here which has got a different icon called a scorecard. Now scorecards and metrics are something that's slightly different. They do use information that's in other Power BI reports if you want to, and I've got a whole video series that's explaining how they are, so I'll put a link below to that video series about how to set up these. But for now, you can see these pairs come along. You can go and change the name of these just by right-clicking on here and going into Settings, and then you can change the report name here. Now, I wouldn't recommend that you do that because it just seems like the right thing to do to keep them together so you know which semantic model, or you can see which semantic model relates to which report. Now, within the semantic model, if I click on that, you can go and it tells you at the bottom here, once that loads up, which reports are linked to that semantic model, because you can have multiple reports linked to the one semantic model, but that's a little bit more of an advanced feature, so you can still see it if you do change the name. So let's go back to our workspace. We'll go to Operations. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through the process here of creating a new workspace, publishing a new app, and some hints and tips on how to make the most out of your apps. So I'm going to go to Workspace. I'm going to create a new workspace. Now, you will need to have permission to create a new workspace, and you need to talk to the IT people to actually make sure you've got permission to do that. So I have here, so let's create this one here called Maintenance Performance Reporting, and then you can put a description in here. Now for now, I'm just going to use the same as the report here. And then we've got this option here to upload an image. Now that image for the workspace is going to be available when you're viewing workspaces. Okay, so that's the first thing that I would say is worth doing so that you can actually see or easily recognize your workspace. So let's add an image here. Okay, now I'm going to use this image here. Now the image does need to be below, I think it's 40. So if I go in here and go to details, okay, so it needs to be below 40 kilobytes. So it needs to be quite a small image, and then we'll add that in there. Okay, so let's apply that. Now that's all you need to get started with. Okay, there's loads of other advanced options and stuff like that, but we just want to get started. Now I'm going to just move that up just now. We're not going to talk about that just yet. So what we've got now is a workspace with nothing in it. So let's publish a report to the workspace. Okay, so we've got this report here. Now if you are interested in actually creating a report like this, then check out my course. I'll leave a link below once that's published. So I'm going to go and publish this report, and I'm going to go and save it. And it's going to ask us where you want to publish this to. Okay. Now I created one called Maintenance Performance Reporting. This folder's empty. There's nothing in it just now. So let's just publish that up to there. Okay, success. And then you can actually go and link directly to this report. Okay, so this is a report that I've actually published up to the Power BI workspace. So just to put that into context, this is where we're at just now. Okay, we've got a report that's in the Power BI workspace. We don't have an app yet, but we've published it up. So it was in the Power BI desktop, and now it's sitting in this workspace here. So the next thing I need to do is I need to go and publish this to an app. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up to this option here, and I'm going to go to this location here, and that's going to take me to the workspace. Okay, so I was in the report, now I'm in the workspace that this report has been published to. So once I'm in this workspace here, there's a few things I can do. Now one thing I want to draw your attention to is you can go back and look at the workspace settings, but you can manage access here. Okay, now this is access to the workspace. It's not access to the app, it's access to the workspace. Now there are, if I go in here and go to add a new person, you can add their name in here. So there's 4 different levels of permissions that you can assign to somebody when you add them to a workspace. People don't need to get access to a workspace. If you're just going to be an end user of a report, then you just need access to the app. But if you do need to add people to a workspace, then these are the options that are available. Now, if you go into this URL here, which I'll leave in the comments below, then you'll be able to see exactly what the different options are for each of these admin, member, contributor, viewer. Okay, so viewer's got the least, contributor has got pretty much most of the permissions to go and actually work in the workspace and publish and copy reports, etc. Member's got slightly more, and admin has got full control over the workspace. Okay, so there's just me in here just now, and we can see that these are the 2 things that were created, the actual report and the semantic model, when I actually published my Power BI desktop. And then we've got a few other options here, but I just want to keep it simple and cover the options you really need to know about. And first of all, we need to create an app. Okay, because we've just created this workspace, there's no app associated with that workspace. So again, we've got option to name the app, which we'll just leave the same name as the workspace. And then we've got the logo. So this logo can be copied across from the workspace, and I would advise you just to leave it the same. And once it's done, then you can choose to configure a couple of bits and pieces related to this app. So the first thing is this theme here. Now you notice the logo I've used has got this grey background here. Now the reason I've done that is because when I was setting it up, I wanted to colour match this theme here. Now, if you hover above here, you can see the actual colour there. So the hexadecimal colour is F3, F2, F1. So whenever you're creating a logo, just make sure that that is the background colour, or whichever colour you want the app background to be. But I would recommend this one here because it's a little bit subtle and it doesn't feel overwhelming when you publish the app. So if we choose that, it's going to be the colour of the app. Okay, show the publisher. So this is the names, we'll just leave that as it is. There's a few advanced settings here. This one is to expand the navigation panel at the side. We'll leave that on. Install this app automatically. We want to turn this on so that when you publish it up, it automatically gets installed and people can see in the list of apps. Now you might not want to do that, but I'm going to do it for this example here. And then support site, this is where you can actually put in a site that somebody can visit to get some support on how the app works. Okay, now up here, you've got contact information. I'm just going to leave that as a publisher. And that's pretty much all we're going to do for just now. Then we're going to go to content. Okay, so we can see it's got this three-step approach when you're publishing the app, and also when you're republishing or rebuilding the app, you still follow the 3 steps here. We need to add content to our app. So if we click on this add content, you'll be presented here with a list of everything that's in your workspace. So we're going to add that one in, and then we're going to put the add button. Okay, and then next we've got an audience. Now the default audience, there needs to be at least one audience. That's the default audience there. So we're just going to leave it with that default audience for just now. And within the audience, you've got this list of reports here. So that's a report, and we can see it's got this little eyeball beside it. Now, if I try and uncheck that, it's not going to let me because you need to have at least one report that is, or one object that is visible. Okay, so that's what it's telling us here. So I need to uncheck that because it won't let me publish the app. Okay, so here's the app here. And then what you can do is, distinct from the workspace, now everybody in the workspace is automatically going to have access to the app. Okay, if you just hover above here, users and groups in the workspace can access this content. They're not affected by advanced settings covered above. Okay, now this audience here, this maintenance performance reporting audience, which is a default one, the people who have got access to that can be the entire organization, which is everyone, or you can actually put in specific groups here. Okay, so this is where you can control who has access to look at the app, and this is typically the end business users. Okay, so I could put my name in there. I'm not sure if it's going to accept this external email. Well, I think it probably will. And once I've done that, then you can publish the app. Okay, and it's going to give you this link to go to the app. You can copy it. So let's go to this app. Okay, so here's our app here. We can see that it's got this navigation bar along the side here. It's got some options across the top here and along here. But just to see that app, if we go back and go to our list of apps, which is here, we can see that it is here now. Okay, now once you've published an app, you can actually make it your favorite. Now, if it is a favorite and you go to home, you're going to see that it's going to be on here. It is here. Okay, and you can take off the favorite again if you want. Or if you go to this option here, which is expand, you're going to see it's going to be under favorites and or favorites and frequents. It'll be in here somewhere. Here it is, maintenance performance reporting. Now I've actually used the same icon as this other one that I published, which I wouldn't recommend, but just for this to be able to show you how to publish that icon and to actually put an icon in place, then that's fine. So let's go back into apps. And we're going to go and look at publishing some more reports up to this app so that we can actually then go and look at how to actually build an app with some sections and some links to external resources, etc. Okay, so I'm in the app. I'm actually going to go back to the workspace. So just go in here, maintenance performance workspace. Okay, so I'm going to go and publish another couple of reports here so we've got something that we can work with. So that's me published a load of other reports here, so we can see all of these different pairings. We've got asset health, we've got HSC, we've got backlog, we've got threats, we've got some other bits and pieces in here about risk. So this is the original report we published, and we've now got lots of other ones. Now, just want to draw your attention here, in the workspace you can actually see which of these is included in the app, okay? So it just says yes for that one and no for these other ones. So this is the workspace, and this is the only one that's included in the app. So let's go and add the others in. So I'm going to go to Update App, I'm going to go to Content, I'm going to go to Add Content, and it's going to show us exactly what's in the app and what's not. Okay. Now you can just click here and select everything, and that's going to be fine for us. And here we can see we've got all of our reports now in the app. Now we need to add them to the audience. Now, because there's more than one report, these never defaulted to be shown in the actual audience here, this default audience. So I need to go and click on each one of these and just make sure that that is unhidden. And now that'll be shown in here. And then we're going to go and update the app and then click here and then go to the app. Okay, now sometimes it doesn't show up straight away and you just need to just wait a second, and then once it's actually loaded, just refresh it. It should show up within a couple of minutes. There we go. Okay, so here are all of these reports that have now been added into the app. We've got the first one, which is the work management one. We're going to change the name of that in a minute, right through to the threats report. So to go and edit an app, if you're actually in the app and you've got access to edit the app, you're going to see this little button up at the top here, this little pencil button. So go to Edit App, and that's going to take you into the workspace again. And then we're going to go to this Update App, and then we're going to go to Content. So I'm going to go and actually do some bits and pieces of configuration about how this app actually looks when it's published. So the first thing is I'm not happy with all of the names here. So what I'd typically do is make them a little bit shorter and to the point. So you can go in here and you've got the option to rename, delete. Now you're just deleting this from the app, you're not deleting it from the workspace. When you choose this option, move up, move down, and then you can copy a link here. So let's rename this. Call that one Work Management. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take out the word report from these. Asset Health HSC, we'll just call it HSC. Keep it nice and to the point. This one is about risk. Okay, so I've just tidied these up and I want to just change the order. Now you can actually change the order by using the up and down buttons here, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop it using these little grids at the side here. So the first thing I want to see is HSE, and then I want to see the safety critical backlog. Then I want to look at perhaps asset health, or I want to look at our production, risk, let's put that here, work management effects. Okay, so we can choose an appropriate sequence here of how you want the actual reports to be listed in this side panel of the app here. Okay, so that's the first thing. Make sure these are in a logical sequence so they kind of tell a story as you go through the actual different reports here. Now I'm going to go back to audience, and I'm just going to explain how you create a new audience. So we're going to go and click on this new audience button, and then you can right click on here and rename it, or you can just double click on it. And in here, I'm going to call this threats. Okay, now what I've got is two audiences. I've got this one here, which is the name of the app, which is called Performance Management Report, and we could probably shorten that, but we'll leave it like that for just now. And we've got this one here, which is called the threats. Okay, now as you flick between the two of these, you'll see across here, this edit audience changes. Now, what you can do here is between these two here, you can actually specify the list of users who have access to see this audience. So if I go in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my name off of this one here, but I'm going to put it in here. So that means that I've got access to all of these reports here, except this one here, because I'm going to go and hide that. And then in threats, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide all of these. And basically the names here have only got access to this one here. Okay, so it might well be that you want certain people to only have access to these reports. Okay, so only threats, only this audience here has got access to this threats here. Now, if your name is in both of these audiences, then you'll have access to all the reports from both of them. And when we publish this, you'll see there's an all tab, which basically consolidates all the reports you've got access to. But that will become a bit more obvious once we've published it up and we'll look at it in the Power BI service. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is go back to content, and you've got the option here to add additional content. Now, the two things that you've got is to add a link and to add a new section. So let's first of all go and add a new section. and we can see how that is here. Okay, a new section here, and we're going to call this resources. Okay, and then I'm going to add another section here, and I'm going to call this one reports. Now, what I can then do is I can add these reports here into these sections here. To do that, I just click on here and move to, and then there's resources and reports. So I'm going to add it into reports. I'm going to do the same for each one of these. And this just helps you to manage your workspace into collapsible objects. So these sections are collapsible, and then the reports themselves, they're collapsible as well. If they've got multiple pages, let's find one that has. Here we go. Okay, so we've got these multiple pages here. So let's go through and we'll add these to the reports section. Okay, so we've got a section for reports and we've got a section for resources. Now under resources, I'm going to add some links. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add a thing called a link. Okay, so when you add a link, what happens is you've got a link name. Okay, so let's say this is a production management app, and then we'll put a link in here, shove that in there. Okay, now once you've actually chosen the link, you can decide do you want to open it in the current tab, a new tab, or in the content area. So in this example here, I'm going to go for the new tab. The current tab, I wouldn't recommend the current tab because it's going to take you away from the Power BI service. And it's going to be awkward because you're not going to be able to then, you're going to have to go back or you're going to have to navigate and find that again. So I'm going to choose a new tab for this one. And then I'm going to add this link to the resources section. Okay, so we can see we've got this production management here. And then I'm going to go and add another type of content here. So it's going to be a link again. And this is going to be a link to the terms of reference for the actual performance report meeting. Okay, so the link that we're going to go for here, we need to go and actually get the link from, I'm going to embed a PowerPoint presentation essentially. So we're going to have to go and get the link from PowerPoint. Now to use this approach, what you need to do is you need to publish your PowerPoint presentation up to the cloud. Now in this example here, I've used SharePoint, and here it is here sitting in my SharePoint site, and I'm just going to go and open that up. Because we've got to get a special link. You can't just actually link to the presentation itself. Okay, so here's this opened up. It's a terms of reference, just a generic terms of reference. And we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Share, and we're going to go to this one here, which is Embed Presentation. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to get the link that's in here. Now, it can be a little bit tricky to try and just hone in on that link. So what I'd say is, click on here, Control A to select all, Control C to copy, then open up Notepad, and then just paste it in here. And what you want is the link that's within this SRC section. So it's this source here, and it's right down until the end of here. Okay, I'm going to copy that. Okay, so you can see it's got these little open and close tag arrows here as well. So it's this section within here that we want. And then we're going to go back into our app, and in the link I'm going to paste that in. Okay, and then in here we're going to choose content area. And then in this section we're going to choose resources. Now content area means it's going to open it up within the actual app itself. So let's add that in, and hopefully that will work. So if we click on this terms of reference, we'll know straight away. Give it a second to load up. Here we go, it looks like it's loading up. Okay, so what that's done is it's embedded a link so that it can then open it up in your Power BI app, which is really useful. And then this one here is going to open up a link to a new tab. So we'll see that when it gets published. So there's nothing shown in this section here because it's not opening up within this section. Okay, right, so we're getting there now. So we've got this option here. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to publish this first of all to show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm just going to publish that up here. Okay, so again, it's not quite put everything in yet, so let's just refresh this. Actually, I know what the issue is here. Right, so what I've done is I haven't actually added these into I made the other sections and the other links here that belong to that sections in particular visible. Okay, so that's why they're not getting shown here. But while I'm here, we can go in here and we can see that this audience now maintains performance management. It doesn't include the threats. Okay, it's got work management right through to threats. And if we go to this one here, it only includes the threads. So these tabs along the top are going to allow you to actually group reports together within your app, which can be quite useful if you've got quite a lot of reports in there and you want to be able to either group them in logical groups or manage who has access to reports within a single app. So let's go back and we're going to edit this app again, and then we're going to go to update app. You'll get used to this. You're going to do it quite a bit if you're setting up the app initially. And then we're going to go to content, and we've added the content in. Here it is there. But in the audience, what we didn't do was go into the content and make it visible. Okay, now you can do it at this level here, and it's going to make everything visible within that section. We'll leave threats as it is because we only want that to be visible for this one here, and these are still invisible under the threats, so we'll leave that as it is. That's fine. We'll just leave that to focus on threats. We don't want the extra resources in there. Right, okay, so let's go and publish that again, just so we can see it happening. And here it is here. Okay, we've got the resources sitting here, and we've got that report there. Now if we go into the terms of reference, it's going to open up as a reminder. So really useful to guide you through the meeting if this is, and this setup here, this scenario here is that I've basically created one of these for each of the different meetings that we've got. Okay, so here's the terms of reference here, and if we click on here, that's going to open up a new report. Now I just chose a link off of Google there, but this is going to open it up, and if you've got any apps or any other resources that you want to keep in one place but be able to bookmark and link to, then that's really useful for that. Right, okay, so another thing I'm going to do is when you're in here, it can sometimes get a little bit confusing to understand, well, is that a report or is that a section, and what are the difference between these? And we're going to use some icons that's going to help us with that. So let's go back in here, and we're going to go to update app again, and then we're going to go to content. And then we're going to go in here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little icon next to some of these to differentiate between what is a folder and what is a report and what is a resource, etc. So we're going to rename, click on here, click at the start of that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to press the Windows key and full stop. Okay? And that's going to basically pull up this option for embedding emojis into this description here. So what I'm going to do is, these are ones I've searched for before, so this one's called a folder. So just to show you how you search for it, if you put in folder, okay, there's different options here for a folder. You can have that open one, or you can have that one there. Which one did I use? I don't know, I just used this one just now. And then put a space after it, just to give it a little bit of breathing space. And then we're going to do the same in here, rename, and then we're just going to put a folder in. So Windows and full stop, and we'll put that in there. And a space. Now these are reports, so let's see if we've got a different icon for reports, and in here we've got something that looks like a bar chart. So if I put in here chart, okay, we've got a few options there. They're not particularly great. I don't want this up or down one, but I think that one's okay. I'll do that for each one of these. Right, so that's the different reports there, and then in terms of reference, it's a meeting. So let's go and go to edit link. And in here, let's see if there's something we can do for a meeting. Maybe this, or maybe a document. Okay, let's choose a document instead. And then we'll update that. And then this one here, we'll make that a link. Sure, there's going to be a link option here. There we go, as one I've used previously. And then we'll just do a little space after that. Okay, so that just lets it become a little bit more visual so you can differentiate between what is a report and what is a document and what is a link. So let's go and update that. And go to the app. Okay, so we can see here that we've got these little icons here that just make it a little bit more visual. And I think they're really, really smart because it just lets you see, okay, well, these are all reports. I know these are reports. Now, it's not going to do it for the pages within a report. Let's find one that's got pages in it. Okay, now I dare say you could go into your actual Power BI desktop and put icons in here if you wanted to, but I think that's probably a bit of an overkill. Just at this higher levels here is pretty good. So now we've got our app here. We've published it up to the Power BI service. We've added some icons, we've set up some audiences, we've set up the permissions. So hopefully that's going to give you a little bit of an idea about how you might want to set up apps for your particular organization. Okay, so just before we bring this video to a close, I'm just going to have a quick once through of publishing an app or updating an app. and something that's really important. So when you've got reports in your Power BI desktop and you want to update a report, okay, so we're going to talk through an example in a second, but if you've got a report here and you publish it up to your workspace, what will happen is that report will be in this workspace here. Okay, so in our example, report 1 will be in the workspace. It won't yet be in the app. Okay, now that's important because what you can sometimes do is publish a report up to the workspace and then assume that it'll be available for everybody that's got access to this app to go and view that report. What you need to do is you need to press on the update app. Okay, so you need to go and update an app, and then what that will do is it will copy the version of this report that you've just published across and overwrite the version that's currently published to the app. Now the reason for this is because there needs to be a separation between, or the architecture is such that there's a separation between the version of the report that's in the workspace, so that you can work on that report, you can test that report by looking at it in the Power BI service in the workspace, and in theory you could actually develop the report here without publishing it to the app so that the end consumers of the report don't see any of the development work that's ongoing and the testing work that's ongoing. Then once you're happy with this report, you update the app and it'll copy this version of the report. It'll have the same name but a different version up to the actual audience. So let me just show you that in action. So I'm back in the Power BI service and we're going to find our maintenance performance reporting app, and we can see that the title here is threats. Okay, so that's the version that we've got published up to the actual app, is the version that says threats for this threats report. Now if I go back to Power BI desktop and I'm going to go and actually put in threats report. Okay, so now I've updated this title, I'm going to go and publish this. So I'm going to click on publish, I'm going to click on save, and I'm going to go and find our maintenance performance reporting. Here it is there, it's already selected. Now we can see here, just in this really light grey, these are all the reports that are currently in this workspace, and here's our threats report here. Now I've not changed the title, and that's important because we want to replace the existing report, so I'm just going to press replace. Okay, so it's telling us that it has been successful. So you can click here to go to the version of the report that is in the workspace. Okay, so we are looking at the version of the report here that's in the actual workspace, not on the app. So we can see threats report, and we know that we're in the location within this workspace here, but just for confirmation, let's click on this location here. Here's all of the reports that are in the workspace, and we can click on here, and we can see it's got this threats report here. Now, if I go to the app again, which is here, even if I refresh this, okay, it still says threats. So what I need to do now is I need to go and update the app. So to do that, we're going to go to the workspace and we're just going to go and update app and then just update app. Okay, there's not much we need to do because we're just republishing a single report. Okay, now we've done it here. Now we could go to the app there, but we don't need to because I've got it open here. And what I need to do now is just go and refresh this. It might take a second. And here we go. Okay, so that is now been published to the workspace and then published, and then the app has been updated. Okay, so it's really important that you remember to update the app whenever you publish new reports that have changed up to the workspace. Okay, that's us for today. I will talk to you in the next video.